Christmas Eve, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, released a statement about the newly agreed UN budget for the coming year. In it, she highlighted a U.S. negotiated $285 million budget cut. So let's take a look at just what the organization's budget is and what it does. The UN's budget for 2018 to 2019 tops out at $5.4 billion, meaning Ambassador Haley's negotiation shaved off a little more than 5% of the overall budget. It's a big deal. Contributions from member nations are calculated from a formula in the UN Charter, which pegs the U.S.'s responsibility at 22% of the total budget. That comes out to about $1.2 billion that the U.S. owes for next year. Now, based on the formula, the cut to the UN budget saved the United States about $62 million. That's not such a big deal. Haley also tweeted, just 5 months into our time here, we've cut over $500 million from the UN peacekeeping budget. Now, initially, you wouldn't think this would make sense mathematically, but the peacekeeping budget is actually a separate fund totaling $6.8 billion. The U.S. contributes $1.9 billion to that. This is a little more than 28% of the total, and it funds the peacekeeping operations in areas like Kosovo, Darfur, South Sudan, the Central African Republic, Haiti, and other places. So let's look at what U.S. contributions to the United Nations do help fund generally. In 2016, U.S. contributions, that's both the ones that are mandated by the Charter, the UN Charter, and voluntary payment, made up about 37% of the UN High Commission for Refugees funding. This is a program that aids refugees, focusing particularly on Syrians fleeing the civil war in the last few years. 34% of the World Food Program's budget in 2016 came from U.S. contributions. This program helps to feed people in areas like Pakistan, civil war-ravaged Yemen, and refugee settlements in Jordan. A little more than 31% of the International Atomic Energy Agency's budget was paid for by U.S. contributions. The IAEA helps monitor nuclear programs around the world, one of the agencies responsible for monitoring and verifying the destruction of Iraq's nuclear program in the early 2000s, and, of course, monitoring Iran. These are just a few of the UN programs that help to stabilize countries and regions around the world. They face cuts with each successful reduction, as Ambassador Haley calls them.